Welcome to the part 3 of our food service systems lecture. And in this section, we will be discussing about food cost and labor cost. Food cost is the money we pay for the product we serve. So in Tagalog, I always defined it or translate it as the puhunan of our business. Let us answer this poll question. What does it indicate if your food cost percentage is at 60%? Does it mean you are ordering from a good supplier? You are a profit-oriented institution? Or you are serving food for a cheaper price? You have 15 seconds to answer. Is it X, Y, or Z? Okay, time's up. And the answer is Z. You are serving food for a cheaper price. So how do we control food costs? So being aware of how we control it helps bring in more profit because the higher the food cost means the less money is the company is making. So with this table, this shows the financial goal based on the food cost and the kind of institution. So as we can see, we have at most 33 to 40% food cost percentage in order to be profitable enough. Considering that we have other costs from the operations such as labor, utilities, rent, and now let us identify the factors affecting food costs. The first is purchasing method, receiving and storing practices, the issuance practices, preparation, cooking methods, serving portion, our menu pricing, and leftover. So basically, all of the phases in the operations from ordering, receiving, to the serving of food, all affects our food cost. These are ways to control food costs. First one, we follow the 5 back of the house quality control systems, which includes proper ordering, receiving, storing, recipe adherence, and immediate service. Also, we do pinch and grab tests in a restaurant setting. This is more ideal because we want to serve the food in the fastest time possible. Portion control is also important, and we practice yielding in order to make sure that each food ingredient or product is maximized. Just like, for example, if we cut a whole salmon and we have to yield 90% for that whole salmon for the meat, so we can monitor the yielding report and make sure that every time each is produced or prepared for cooking, we always yield at least 90%. Wastages are recorded and we make sure that any food that is discarded is in the record because we can use it as part of our reports when it is time to analyze our food cost. Scraping is a practice wherein we make sure that we consume all of the ingredients in every recipe that we do, for especially for sauces or dressings, which has to be scraped in order to use up all of the remaining ingredients in the container. Measuring is done to have a standard size or weight for every food product, and also proper cutting and slicing is always practiced to make sure that we do not underportion or overportion. Other ways to control food costs includes line checks, product rotation, cleanliness and sanitation, communication in such a way that we always make sure that we understand the information in our production sheets. So these forms are filled up, and this indicates the quantity of products to be produced. Carefully reading of orders from the front of the house or servers, and carefully reading the tickets or proficiency in the POS abbreviations in the part of the kitchen. Also, proper handling of equipment helps control food costs in such a way that we do not we do not waste any food product because of malfunctioning equipment. And also reporting suspicious activities. How do we determine the monthly food cost percentage? So for example, our beginning food inventory for January is 50,000, and we will add all the food purchases from January 1 to 31 at 100,000. We deduct the ending inventory of 25,000. So we will get the monthly food cost in peso value of 125,000. If the monthly sales is 500,000, we can now compute for food cost percentage by getting the food cost divided by the sales times 100. So we will get 125,000 divided by 500,000 times 100 equals 25%. So this is the actual food costs based on the inventory. Now, how do we determine the food costs of our menu item or as per recipe? Food cost percentage is equivalent to the cost of food as purchased divided by the selling price times 100. So how do we identify the cost of food? We just have to enumerate all of the ingredients, the quantity and the cost per ingredient, and then the total will give us, for example, 17.86 with a yield of 4. So the cost per yield is 4 pesos and 47 centavos for this recipe of scrambled eggs. So here's an example. If the cost of the ingredients to make premium cheeseburger is 104 pesos and the selling price is 260, what is the food cost percentage? So 104 divided by 260 will give us, times 100 will give us 40% food cost. Now let us answer this poll question. Calculate the monthly cost if the cost percentage is 29.5% and the sales is 1,800,000 pesos. Is it 53,100, 5,310, or 531,000? You have 30 seconds, 15 seconds to answer. Just type in A, B, or C. Okay, time's up, and the answer is 531,000 pesos. So we will get it by multiplying the sales times 29.5%. Now we move to menu pricing. So how we price the menu is affected by the following factors: the product quality, customer type, sales mix, ambience or the concept, service quality, the local competition, and food cost. In determining the selling price, we can use cost-based pricing or non-cost-based pricing. For cost-based pricing, we can compute it using the food cost percentage, factor pricing, or the prime cost pricing. Non-cost-based pricing is form of subjective price method, which is based on intuition or knowing your guests, their capacity to pay. But with this pricing method, we fail to consider the profit and the cost. So it can also be based on our competitors' pricing. For cost-based pricing, first let us use the food cost percentage. So selling price is equal to cost per portion divided by target food cost. For example, if the cost per portion of a dish for a certain cafeteria is 52 pesos, compute the selling price. So 52 divided by 0.40, that is 40%, will give us 130 pesos. Welcome to the part 3 of our next topic will be about labor cost and the employment process. So how do we determine the percentage of labor cost? With the Now let us answer this poll question. It costs Lily's pineapple pie 65 pesos, and the food cost percentage is 39.5%, which makes its current menu price 165 pesos. How much should she charge for her pineapple pie to bring the food cost percentage down to 30%? So is it 262, 217, or 230? You have 30 seconds to answer. Just type your answer. Is it E, I, or E? Okay, time's up. And the answer is 217, letter I. Selling price equals cost divided by the food cost percentage of 30. For factor pricing, or with the use of cost factor or multiplier, we get the selling price by the formula cost per portion times the cost factor. So if the cost per portion of a dish is 52 and the desired food cost percentage is 33%, so compute the selling price. So cost factor is 3.03, and our selling price will be 52 times 3.03 is 158 pesos. For prime cost pricing, we determine the prime cost by adding the food cost and the labor cost. So selling price will be equal to the prime cost divided by the desired prime cost. So for example, if the actual food cost is 200 and actual labor cost is 22.50, our actual prime cost is 222.50. So, and if the desired prime cost is 51%, so when we compute for that, 222.50 divided by 0.51, we will get 436 pesos. Now let us look at the costing for this fresh lemonade. So how much does a serving of fresh lemonade cost? And how much would you sell it in a restaurant, in fast food chain, and in a service-oriented facility? So given this recipe, we now identify the ingredients, the price, and the unit. So let us compute for the cost of our lemonade per serving. For the lemon slice, since we use one whole lemon for 20 pesos, but we will only use 5 slices out of the 8 slices that we have. That is 20 pesos divided by 8, and it will be 2.5 pesos times 5, giving us 12.5 or 12.50. For the simple syrup, it is 990 ml divided by 1,000, giving us 0.09 unit cost times 90, that is 8.1. For the ice, that is 0. Then for the mint, 250 pesos divided by 1,000 grams will give us 0.25 times 2, it's 0.5. Then for the lemon juice, 300 divided by 100 1000 ml will give us 0.30. That is 9 pesos. And the total cost of our lemonade is 30.1 or 30 pesos and 10 centavos. Now, how do we get the selling price for the restaurant? With 25% food cost, that is 30.10 divided by 0.25 equals 120 pesos and 40 centavos. For a fast food chain with 40% food cost, that is 30.10 divided by 0.40, giving us 75.25 pesos. And in a service-oriented facility, that is 30.10 divided by 0.60, giving us 50.17 pesos. Now let us answer this poll question. Our next topic will be about labor cost and the employment process. So how do we determine the percentage of labor cost? With the formula, labor cost percentage is equal to labor cost divided by total sales times 100. So for example, 15,000 pesos divided by 100,000 pesos times 100 gives us 15% labor cost. And how do we determine the labor cost in peso value for our target? That will be target sales times our target labor cost in percentage. So for example, if your target sales is 100,000 pesos and target labor cost is 15%, you have 15,000 pesos labor to allot in your schedule. There are factors affecting labor costs, which includes increased production and sales. The more employees or labor hours that we have does not directly increase or decrease our labor costs in percentage. Because with a higher labor hours, we have more opportunity to maximize our profit and lower our labor costs. So for example, if we have events or functions that would require increased production and sales, but knowing the manpower requirement for that event, we will allow the manager to plan the schedule well. So that will make us more profitable. The use of principles of time and motion economy. So time and motion studies are conducted to analyze the time spent in doing different motions of a certain job or task. And knowing this will help us set the standards for our employees. Next, ensure proper training, scheduling, and evaluation. So with properly trained employees, we can be more efficient. In return, we can maximize the labor costs. So training is usually considered as cost, but instead we believe that training is an investment. The use of labor-saving devices can help us cut costs. There are equipment such as tomato dicers, automatic dish washing machines, dough mixers. So all of those equipment will help us cut on labor. And also the use of convenience foods such as canned products or pre-prep ingredients. And of course, efficient kitchen layout. To break down the labor cost, so for example, this is from the labor costs computation that we use. It includes the basic pay, overtime pay, like differentials, holiday, special holiday, legal holiday, vacation and sick leave conversion, the 13th month pay, the employee's benefits, such as the SSS, Pag-ibig, PhilHealth, and Medicard, allowances and incentives, which depends on the company policies, like communication allowance, employees' meal, allowance if you handle supervisory positions, and other costs like employee trainings and seminars. If the company conducts awardings for Employee of the Year, Christmas party, summer outing, and general assembly. So those costs are counted under the labor costs. So not just for the employees, but also for the managers, which includes basic pay, the vacation and sick leave conversion, 13th month pay, and the other benefits and incentives. So labor cost control best practices includes making the schedule based on hourly sales. So knowing the operations, if you know what are the peak hours, you will be able to assign or maximize your labor during those times. And of course, on lean hours, you can work on skeletal workforce. Know the policies on holiday, special holidays, legal holidays, etc. Control on staff meals. If you provide or include the staff meals in the labor cost, making sure that there is no waste will also greatly affect how we control our labor costs. Manager's meal, also if the company includes it in the labor cost. And also we can multitask, or if possible, employees may handle two positions when they are cross-trained. Just like for example, kitchen positions like the dishwasher are also usually assigned as the stockman. So since dishwashing tasks would not be loaded throughout the day, he can handle the organization of the stocks. Now let us answer this poll question. Overtime and premium pay are entitlements accorded to, is it managerial employees only, regular employees, or all employees? You have 15 seconds to answer. Is it M, R, or A? Okay, time's up, and the answer is letter R, regular employees. Actually, managers are not entitled to overtime pay. We have another question. In case an employer requires a worker to work during the night, anytime between 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., he must be paid a minimum of 10% over and above his regular wage for each hour, 15% over and above his regular wage for each hour, or 20% over and above his regular wage for each hour. Is it S, C, or W? Just type in your answer in the chat box. Okay. The answer is 10% over and above his regular wage for each hour. So these policies are all available in the labor code. So you can check that as part of your review. Now let us discuss the employment process. So the process starts with the recruitment phase. I have included the person in charge, or the one who will be handling for processing this phase of our employment. So starting with the recruitment, Usually we have from the HR department, the HR manager or a recruitment officer will be doing this recruitment process. Recruitment from internal sources may be done by promotion of the current employees from rank and file to managerial or rehiring previous employees. And some advantages for this one is that they are already familiar with the organization or they will need minimal training, and also we will also have the background of their skills. Recruitment may also be done from external sources like through press, agencies, schools, and labor unions. And the advantage of doing this is the company may have or get new ideas or bring in new skills that may match the job requirements. But of course, we will need more training with these individuals and may initially cost more. For the next phase, which is the selection process, again, the recruitment officer may handle this phase or even the operations manager or supervisor. Interviews may be done in order to know the applicant. We determine the attitudes, feelings, and personality traits through the interviews. And tests are also conducted in order to assess the skills, the intelligence, psychological, and the health of the applicant. For the next phase, where the worker is on the job, so the main person in charge will be the manager or the supervisor, or if the company has a training department or training head, then in this phase, all employees on board are required to have a personnel record. So this record has the activities and the progress of the worker within the organization, the intent of employee, and as a basis for merit rating, salary adjustments, and other benefits. So once the employee starts in the organization, orientation and training is very important. So this prepares the employee mentally and physically for the job. And the employee must also know the company profile, the policies, benefits, and the details of his job. Performance appraisals and evaluations are conducted with every employee as a leveling of expectations in the part of the employee and the company. So evaluation is also done to discuss the level of competence, the need for additional training or counseling, and to review the employee's progress within the organization. If necessary, disciplinary actions are given, and these are important records as well to be included in the personal file of the employee, which is also a way that the company ensures that the employees are able to comply with the standards and policies. On the next phase, movement is very natural in the employment process. So it can be because of promotion, transfer, dismissal, resignation, or retirement. And lastly, supervision. So supervision is a collection of work, coordinating and directing tasks to the employees, and a lot of decision-making process. So it happens round the clock from pre-shift. So from pre-shift, such as preparing the employees for the operations, planning the schedules, and the tasks to be done. So the shift itself, or the actual shift, which entails the hands-on supervision of the operations as the action happens. And the post-shift, as the result of the employees have to be analyzed and determine if the work requirements are met or needs to be adjusted. So that is the employment process. Now let us answer this poll question. So this decree is also known as the Labor Code of the Philippines. Is it Presidential Decree number 865, Presidential Decree number 51, or Presidential Decree number 442? So 15 seconds to answer that. Just type in your answers in the chat box. Okay, time's up, and is PD 442. PD 865 is the sanitation code of the Philippines. And EO 51 is the milk code. Now for the last, before we discuss the final part, let us again answer this poll question. This costs, or the cost incurred by operation, that includes rent, property taxes, insurance premiums, equipment, depreciation, and some utilities. These are unaffected by change in business volume. Is it operating costs, fixed costs, or variable costs? So type in your answers. Okay, and the answer is variable costs. Now let us discuss the financial records. So the first one is the budget plan, which is prepared for forecasting needs. It includes the probable activities, their cost, and the source of anticipated income. Various reports are used, and this justifies why budget is over or under in each category. It should be done monthly, and it also alerts the manager to problems, corrective actions before it snowballs. Next is the P&L, or the profit and loss statement. So this is the summary of all the revenues and expenses for a period of time. It could be monthly or quarterly. And last is the balance sheet, or the statement of assets and liabilities, which shows the net worth of the restaurant, set of scale showing liabilities on one side and the assets on the other. So let us discuss the profit and loss statement. All P&L statements have the same basic structure, although there may be some details that the company may prefer. And it shall report three financial performance components, which are the sales less the cost is equal to the profit. So here's an overview of the P&L statement. The sales shows the food and beverage sales minus any discounts, coupons, or employee meals. Cost of goods may include all the cost of inventory use in the sales line, which includes food that is wasted. Controllable operating expense includes the cost of operating the business on a daily basis that you can manage, like utilities, repair and maintenance, janitorial costs, security, cash over or short, the trash, freight, and postage, equipment leases, uniforms, and local store marketing. Non-controllable operating expenses includes the items you do not have the ability to alter or change, like the credit card fees, the rent, property taxes, insurance, interest, depreciation, and the business license. The net income, once all the costs have been subtracted out, that is the net income, the number remaining to calculate profits. So you will also hear the term EBITDA, which is defined as the earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization.
Okay. Ayan. Actually, my video ends there. And I have some few more slides na hindi na include sa video before we discuss the Q&A. Ayan. So I'm sharing with you sample P&L report. Ayan. Can you see the screen now? Ayan. Can I have some thumbs up kung okay naman ang ating screen? Medyo maliit lang sa monitor siguro. If you have, if you view it in the phone. So with this sample P&L report, this is for a restaurant operations with a revenue of 4 million pesos for a month, for 1 month. Yan. This serves as an example only. Yan. So comparing to the budget na sinet ng general manager, which is 3.5 million, the actual revenue is 4 million. So we are seeing a good P&L presentation or good financial report. So here, the cost of sales, or what we also call the food cost percentage, is at 28.3. And ideally for casual dining restaurant, it is ideally 25% food cost. Labor cost is at 17%, and we will also see the other detailed categories like controllable expenses, the marketing expenses, utilities, the rent, and CAM charges. Royalty would depend on your business or on your food service facility if you are paying royalty. General and admin expenses goes to the head office. So we have marketing and other expenses. So in this report, with a cost of sales of 28.3 and labor cost at 17, we were able to have a positive cash flow at 13.2% with peso value of 500,000. So this is just an example of a well-managed operation and a positive, very much profitable financial report. Yan. So kanina may mga questions about paano ko ba babalikan? What is the ideal labor cost? Parang may nabasa ako na gano'n. But we'll try to clarify the question later on. Labor cost for the actually for bistro, ideally we want to achieve 15% labor cost. At most is 25% labor cost. That is for the operations of bistro. And to be profitable as um as an institution, to be profitable, it is ideally you have to meet 30%, at least 25 to 30% at most for your labor cost. Kasi beyond that, it will be very hard for the operations na maging profitable kasi labor cost would usually entail the highest percentage sa cost natin. So it could be depending on the type of institution, so that could be up to 60% already. So kung ang labor cost mo ay nasa 30% na and adding other costs, that will leave you a negative um, cash flow already. Yeah. So 30% would for labor costs would be the it is not the ideal but could be the maximum possible labor cost for you to gain profit. Yan, that is for team you. Yan, medyo nabalikan ko na yung ano niya. Regular pay, ano nga ba? So according to the labor code, hindi ko na masyadong maalala yung sa labor code. But I think for Metro Manila ngayon is 500. Sorry, per day pala yun, no? 500 minimum pay. So that is your homework to review the labor code. And kung regular employees, that is 8 hours a day. Yeah. So you just have to compute that for the based on the basic pay. And basic pay would vary depending on the may mga provincial rate kasi. So here are some slides that I would like to add for P&L topic. My question, royalty is the part of the contract that we have to pay to the franchisee. For example, Dennis is a franchise from the US. That's why we are paying royalty. So hindi lahat ng business operations ay may royalty, especially if it is your own company. So for this example, we are paying 4.5% royalty to the international, to Dennis International. So that is 4.5% of our revenue. Okay, so moving on to the managing the monthly P&L. Okay, next slide. Sorry. May na-miss ako. Yan. So how do we improve the P&L performance? So of course, as we have mentioned earlier, P&L would always present our sales, the cost, and the profit of the business. So we have to focus on increasing the sales by having new guests, return guests, suggestive selling, simply increasing the day-to-day sales that we have will positively reflect on our P&L performance. So speed of service, of course, if we have faster turnover, mas madami tayong ma-accommodate na guests. So that will reflect to higher sales. And next is managing food costs. So we have discussed earlier the different ways to control our food costs. And again, as we have said, we do not lower the food cost. Hindi pababaan ng food cost ang ating contest. So what we want to do is to manage and control the food cost, because lowering the food cost may actually cause may result to lower quality of our products kapag masyado nating tinipid na yung ating products. And another is to manage labor costs. So right staffing at right times, knowing when to reduce staff, cross-training, and competitive wage. So as kaka-discuss lang natin, labor costs would contribute up to 30% of our financials. So yung food cost and labor costs combined, for business to be profitable, it should be at most 60%. Yan, labor costs and food costs. And meron din question kanina about that, about prime cost. So we use prime cost also for pricing, for costing methods or menu pricing with prime cost at most. And for restaurants, if you want to be profitable, we want to achieve at least 60% for prime cost, or 50 to 60 prime cost. So beyond that, it will be hard for a business to be profitable already. Okay. So here we have the general manager's responsibility. I'm just sharing this in behalf of the practice that we have in the restaurant operations. And general manager, as the head of the operations, is the one to complete or to prepare the monthly profit and loss statement. So the general manager is in charge of setting up the accounting month, completing the miscellaneous entries for all applicable costs that needs to be spread across the month, and reversal entries for prior month's accrual. So actually, planning phase for every the P&L report does not just happen on that month. So yung P&L ng January does not just happen at the start of January. Before that month, the general manager needs to prepare, to plan, and especially yung budget for the month. Yan, kailangan niya ng i-ready yon, or naka-plot niya na yon before the month starts. Completing the weekly income estimates, so ensuring inventory accounts are accurate and all purchase orders have been entered and finalized, and researching the variances. So complete, what we do is weekly, we do the reports already. So si general manager will be in charge to make sure lahat kasi ng deliveries or orders will have a purchase order form, and all of those information should also be entered yan, in the system. Yan. Especially now that most operations ngayon syempre computerized na for easier and faster to generate financial reports easier. Also, si general manager does finalizing and reconciling the payroll. So, siya yung may responsibility to make sure that all employees are paid. Yan. So, syempre, hindi niya pwedeng i-report sa labor cost yung work hours which were not given or were not paid to the employees. So, as a manager, that is the responsibility also. Completing the month end, we also have accrual forms, miscellaneous entries, so ensuring the monthly report is complete and sent to the corporate office. So that is also the role of the general manager, and analyzing preliminary financial reports. So comparing the restaurant's financial statements with the preliminary financial statements completed by the corporate office. So from the point of view of the head office, meron din silang mga financial statements, and that is based on all of the records that they receive. So as a manager, you have to analyze all financial reports and make sure that there will be no variances, or kung may variances, you have to support it with documents. Yeah. So those are the um, role of the general manager. So before we move, let us answer again the questions na na-miss natin. Um, Madami na yata ako nalampasan. Chef Ian, if you can review the questions na hindi pa natin na-discuss. And meron din pala sa, sa chat, sa messenger.
Okay. Ma'am, tapos na po yung lecture niyo, right? We can tackle the Zoom questions?
Yes.
Okay. So question number 1 from Zoom, Reg, is there was a question in the short exam about what is an acceptable practice, wherein one choice was provide 1/4 of total salary as retirement pay. How is retirement or severance pay calculated?
Okay. For that question, sorry, I am not an expert in terms of labor and retirement pay. Yan. And actually, retirement pay is not is would would depend on the company policies. Yan. So just like Bistro, we do not have a retirement package for our employees. Unlike big companies like kung familiar kayo sa mga Meralco, ganyan, may mga retirement package sila. So, sorry, I will not be able to answer that first question. Yan. Yan. So, but if anyone among the group is aware about the acceptable practice for the retirement pay, ayan, you can share, or you can consult someone who is practicing this in their company. Yan. Ay, hindi nakalagay kung kaninong question yata yun, no?
Yeah, sorry, hindi ko na ano. I think there's I forgot how to compute it, pero it depends on your monthly pay, and then it's I think it's multiplied by a factor of how many years you've stayed with the company. So there is a formula to compute the retirement pay, no? But also it depends on the minimum na binibigay ni Dole and kung may extra pang binibigay si company, as what
Yes.
Ma'am said.
Yeah.
So next question is, what is the difference between master budget and fixed budget? So,
Okay,
Ma'am, sige ma'am.
master budget, if that would equate to the operations budget, yan. So, hindi ko masyado ring ano yung terms if it would be equivalent to the operations budget, but the operations budget would include all details or components of your financial report. So, dun sa example ko na P&L kanina, the third column shows the budget for the month. So, even your target sales or target revenue for the month is included. So, basically, that is your budget on your performance for the month. for the total operations.
Yeah. Thank you for that. You can also see or refer to the page 196 of the manual. No? Nakalagay doon ang master budget mo is your overall finance budget. No? And then the fixed budget is based on set predetermined level of activity. So it's a smaller budget per activity. No? Okay. Let's proceed. Okay. Nag-show si ma'am kanina ng specific exercise for cost control. No? Would you want to reiterate that, ma'am? Or may gusto ba kayong alamin specific sa cost control? Guys, baka gusto nyo tanungin ngayon. You can go unmute yourself.
I think computation to, no, Sir Ian? Cost control.
Yeah, I think so.
So we have some exercises earlier. You can also review or summarize the formulas para mas madali nyo rin maalala. We have a question about sustainable food service operation. How do we define quality food service? Okay, dun muna tayo sa sustainable food service operation. So to be honest, there are only a few food service operations that we consider fully sustainable. So, and siguro yun yung mga local businesses or local operations, small operations who can manage um, to control all of their procedures with less impact on the environment. Kasi siguro may mga nadidinig na kayo ng mga farm to table na nag-ooperate for their food service operations or specific facilities who have their own food production na may farm sila, meron silang local source of their ingredients. So that is for me a sustainable operation. But in our little way, a food service operation can be sustainable siguro by minimizing the use of course of waste. Yan. Just like recently I have read in the news that we have passed the single-use plastic policy already. So I haven't seen the full details about that, but at least we have the efforts to minimize the use of single-use plastics, and in a way we can contribute in making the operations, especially sa food service, because we use a lot of plastics talaga, di ba? So it will greatly, syempre, impact the environment and also will be a big adjustment for our operations as well. So that was for the fourth question.
Thank you for that, ma'am. I think one example of a sustainable food business, one is here in Las Bañas, no, meron si Shreza, I think. The store operates on a zero waste policy. No, they don't use plastics. They get supplies from the Sierra Madre farmers. So I think before you conceptualize your business, yun na yung mismong goal mo to be sustainable. No? So it depends on your concept and how you operate. Medyo malaking factor talaga. And it's really hard, no? Kasi
Yes.
number one, I think, to be considered is, again, profit. No? Kasi if you cannot sustain your business, then it it will not you will not be able to sell and continue on. No? So it's a very hard commitment to do. And I applaud them for doing that. Okay, so ma'am, clarify daw yung about fixed costs. Kasi yung rent, sinabi po kanina variable cost now. Or I saw it kanina na sa non-controllable expense din yung rent.
Balikan ko yung chat. Nabasa ko din siya eh. We define first variable cost vary with the amount of output produced. Tama. And fixed cost naman, if it remains the same, no matter how much a company produces. So, to give you an example, so yung cost ng rent natin, if the volume of our production today is increased, if for instance we have an event or a function, yan. So, syempre that will reflect to our sales or revenue. So, it was not directly affected or hindi siya naman directly magre-result to increase in our cost of rent. Yan. So, some establishments, meron silang agreement in terms of rent. It could be at a minimum of this amount or at a percentage. Yan. So, depende din yun dun sa establishment na nire-rent mo. But, we consider it fixed because it will not be directly affected by the increase in our production. So, hindi naman porket naging maganda yung performance natin for today or for this season because of the events or the functions that we have, hindi naman mag-a-add agad yung tenants or yung landlord ng rent because you are having positive financial outputs. But actually, during this pandemic, we were able to, most of the establishments, even the malls, were able to adjust because, syempre considering din yung situation ng mga food service establishments, especially yung mga nasa malls, 'di ba? Yung mga um yung mga designed to be dine in, yan. So hindi naman sila designed for delivery or for other mode of business. So kaya yon, it's a good move for the establishments to lower their rent. Yan. So in that situation, it was able to adjust or nakapag-adjust sila, but that is because of the landlords. Yan. Hindi naman palagi namang nag-a-adjust or nagbibigay sila ng adjustment.
Okay, thank you for that. So clarify lang natin, rent or lease is a fixed cost, no? Then you also have to understand, guys, that certain businesses or spaces that are being leased depend on the monthly sales of that space. So for example, in malls, SM, no? SM charges additional 5% on top of the rate of the rent. No? So parang nagiging variable siya. Pero kung ipapasok mo siya sa P&L mo, fixed cost mo si rent and then may additional kind of 5%. Yun yung variable. No? Sometimes you will be charged on that. Sometimes hindi naman. It depends kasi on the gross sales that you get. So depende yan sa lease agreement mo. Okay? So may mga ganong fees na binibigay ang mga spaces or establishments. Okay? So, anything else po? Akong may naiwan, may nakalimutan pa ba tayo? Wala na, guys? Questions pa?
Okay, you can resend your questions kung na-miss namin kasi baka malayo na.
Pwede daw po bang manalo kami ni Ma'am Cara? Ay! Walang question. Sorry.
Hindi po kasali yung
Ay, hindi kami kasali.
yung host.
Okay. Ma'am, ano na lang kami, GC na lang daw sa kahit saang base ko. Biro True. Anything else, guys?
Okay. Any other question? I think nasagot na natin tong ideal labor cost. Wala nang nagta-type.
Wala pa. Ito. If the school is affiliated to the place of employment, is it still considered external recruitment?
Oo, nabasa ko kanina yun. Dali, layo na ata yun. I think ang essence ng question niya, if you were an affiliate or, for example, intern ka or you had an exposure um, in that company, yan. I think it's already considered internal. Yan. Kasi you already have the idea of the company background, or you already had the feel of working in that company. So I think it's already internal. And at least the company will need to provide or give you less training. Yan. Kasi since nagkaroon ka na naman ng hands-on na exposure. So that's for the question earlier na hindi ko naman makita. Nabasa ko lang.
Sorry, ito daw. No po, like I'm sorry. Hold on. Like Augusta University, which is a general medical school, and Augusta Hospital, or Magsaysay Maritime and MICHA. So, medyo hindi
And
ako familiar.
kasi actually, some companies would absorb interns. Yan. So kung may mga nadinig kayo na gano'n, they were able to apply as intern and then eventually for employment. Yan. Some would invest on that kasi syempre less training will be given to those individuals. Yan, na nakapag-intern na din. Even Bistro is open to that. We're open to hiring or absorbing our interns. And actually, one of our vice presidents for operations started as an OJT. Yeah, nag-OJT siya before.
Okay, so parang ang OJT is considered an internal hiring na?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions, guys?
Question? Open po ba kayo for OJT? As of the moment, hindi. Sorry.
Yeah,
Ayan,
virtual lang ang OJT.
virtual lang muna ang mga OJT natin. Yan. But of course, when we're back to normal, syempre mag-open pa rin kami ng OJT. I have a direct message. You can send it to everyone para makita din nila. Regarding po sa architectural measurements, do we need to memorize the values? If yes. Okay. If you need to memorize the values. Yan. Actually, to be honest, during my time, hindi ko maalala na minemorize ko yung mga architectural measurements. But knowing those, yan, of course, by heart. And if you would like to work in the food service industry someday, ma-apply nyo talaga yan. Yan. Kasi based on my experience, we consider those standards, syempre, when we review the plan from our architects and engineers. Kasi dumadaan sa amin yung plan before while ongoing construction, we were able to see the plan of the restaurant. Yan. Kasi may mga kailangan kaming minsan ipa-adjust. So especially if sometimes they do not consider the height of the employees. Yan. So, minsan sobrang taas ng mga shelves, yung mga patungan ng mga pans, hindi naman ideal for the operations na kailangan mo pang tumungtong or kailangan mo pa ng ladder para maabot. So, I recommend that you familiarize yourself. Kaya mas prefer ko din yung may picture or images kasi mas ano yun, parang mas madali siyang ma-recall, di ba? So, what you can do is, of course, have summary for yourself or have your own little notes. Nandun lahat yung mga values para mas madali mo din siyang i-review. And try it on your own kitchen para para mas meron kayong actual experience, di ba? Ano bang height nitong ano namin, sink? Yan. Is it architecturally standard? Yan. Pwede niyong gawin yon para mas ma-recall niyo siya. So that goes to Cherry. And ask ko lang po regarding sa news na hindi ko pa po alam yan. Mamumove ba yung board? Yan. We'll wait for further announcements.
Yeah, siguro we all have to wait for announcements from PRC, no? Kasi every day or every week nag-change ang guidelines ng IATF. So, yun na lang. Any other questions, guys? Okay, after this session, after yung photo ops natin, wag muna kayo aalis, ulitin natin yung announcements for the long exam tomorrow. And then, let's award the certificate of recognition of appreciation, for Ma'am...
Awarding na ba? O, ako muna.
Ay, naku, mag-award ka muna. Sige,
i-award muna ako, di ba?
Sige, mananalo na ako ng kape. Antayin na ako ng kape.
Share ko lang.
Sige po.
Yan, ang ating... Ano ba yung screen ko?
Drum roll ba, ma'am?
Ayan. Do you see my screen? Medyo nalilito na ako kasi sa screen ko. Okay. So before that, I have few more slides that I want to share. Yan. Sayang naman ng mga...
Okay lang, ma'am, na naka-on the record to?
Yes.
Okay.
Apa. Another review tip for you. Now, we call this the theory, don't know, don't care, can't do. Yan. So, we apply this in the operations. And it explains the 3 reasons why employees or why people fail. So, when you always reason out na hindi mo alam or you don't know or you don't care and you can't do a thing, so, syempre, that would lead to failure. And now that you have your review, so we eliminate that reason because now you know it and may time pa naman kayo para mag-review. Also, syempre it's up to you if you care and you have to stay motivated and set your goals. So, as we say, motivation is personal. So, we cannot motivate you, but you know what motivates yourself. So, alam nyo ba kung bakit ba gusto nyo makapasa ng board? Yan. So, it's up to you. And why do you want to top the board? That's also up to you. And third is, of course, you can do it if you believe in yourself. And of course, if you believe you can pass the board exam. So another theory that I have, nagawa-gawa ko lang, para to sa mga mga heartbroken. So break up theory. So bakit break up? Because at this time, you will need your space. Yan, medyo kailangan nyo muna ng me time at yung mga iwas muna kayo sa mga distractions. Yan. So, spend time to review and allot time for this. And pag sinabi nila na huwag ka na mag-aral kasi papasa ka naman. Yan. Pag sinabi nila yun sa'yo, anong isasagot mo? Yan. It's not you. It's me. So, hindi naman sila yung mag-exam ikaw. So, you have to do this for yourself. And another one, ayan, ang proposal theory natin. So, if I ask you now, yan, if I ask everyone, will you pass the board exam? Yan, will you top the board exam pala? Yan ang gusto kong itanong. So, syempre, ang sagot nyo dapat ay, yan, can you send that answer? Syempre, dapat ang sagot nyo ay yes. Yan. So, yes, I will. So, those are my slides for today. And syempre, before we end, I would like to announce our winners randomly chosen by my DTI representative and IT IT support. Yan. So, hindi naman kayo kilala nung aking IT support kaya siya yung pinapili ko. So, randomly from the chat box, we are awarding 3 yan for our giveaway from UPHSL. Sorry,
Yay!
anong acronym? Chef Ian? University.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hindi ako familiar. Can you, Tere?
University of Perpetual Help.
Yan, Tere de Lizar. Congratulations. Si Jazil Joy from PSU. Sorry, paki-announce naman.
Pangasinan State University.
Okay, Pangasinan State University. And Mark Oliver. Wala siyang nakalagay eh.
Disqualified daw. Hindi, biro lang.
Pero, syempre, nandito si Mark Oliver kasi
Biro
nag-chat
lang.
na kanina. So,
Happy,
can you mention, Mark Oliver, your...
So, how do they contact you po?
Just send me a message. Paano ba?
Chat or FB
Chat
Messenger?
niyo ako sa Chat niyo ako sa Facebook. Yung pinakamadali. Look for me at Facebook. Ita-type ko yung aking Facebook, syempre. Yung complete name ko.
Sardo bread.
Shopee checkout yan.
Tingnan natin. Isipan ko muna.
Wow, may pa-sourdough bread. So, congratulations to our giveaway winners. Yan. You can contact me in my messenger. Yan, that is my messenger account name. Complete name ko lang naman yan. So, once again, thank you everyone yan, for participating, and I hope you're able to review for this food service systems 2. And syempre, madami pa kayong time mag-review. Yan, na-miss niyo ba ako? Yan, thank you for today. Okay. Thank you and stay safe.
Okay, huwag muna kayong umalis, guys. Ma'am, mag-picture tayo after, ha?
Ay, okay po.
Hold on.
May pag-giveaway si Chef Ian daw.
Mag-giveaway ako, yes. Certificate, ulan ng certificate. So let me read the citation. Institute of Human Nutrition and Food, College of Human Ecology, University of the Philippines, Los Baños, awards its certificate of appreciation to Ms. Anne Realine D. Reyes in grateful recognition of generously sharing her invaluable time and expertise as resource person on the topic food service systems 2 for the 12 Food Nutrition Dietetics Review course given this third day of August 2021. Signed, Reselin Baina Mariano, Project Leader, Amy Sherry Marion, Overall Organizer and Director of IHNF, and Ricardo M. Sandalo, Dean of College of Human Ecology. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Second lang ba, mag-screenshot ako, ma'am, with the certificate. Wait, hold on. Oh. Wait lang po. Sorry. All right. Okay. Smile, ma'am. Okay. And then, camera on, guys, so we can have our photo. Miss Cara, can you? O ako na pala kasi mas marami kang no, watermark.
Naka-watermark sa akin, sir.
Sige pa. Remove ko lang ng
Students,
spotlight.
stay after the photo ops, please. May announcements. Thank you.
Okay, hold on. Gallery, we have 6 slides. Hold on lang. May notification lang sa screen. Okay, smile guys. Look at your camera and smile. I have 6. Okay, 1. Page 2, smile. Page 3, smile. Keep smiling. Page 4. Page 5. And 6. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, so for the announcements, hold on. Stop ko muna yung stop ko, sorry, ang ingay ng steps. Stop ko muna yung recording, ha? Okay na.